Hello everybody, today we're going to review Thermaltake 9000 case. As you can see, it's pretty damn big. I almost fit myself in this box. It's also pretty heavy too. So let's look into more details what's inside. If I can get out of this box without being injured. I can tell you guys, that stunt with the box was almost a mistake. But the good part, I survived. No broken bones, nothing. So we can talk about Thermaltake 9000 tower case that we have right there. I saw it first time around CS time 2017 in January. Got quite interested in this case because we have something that don't have a traditional one window whatever it is, so we can absorb your parts very nicely. It has a freaking 3 windows, so you can see your stuff from front and from both sides. Who wouldn't love that? Of course, it's put additional pressure on a motor to make everything nicely, so it's even harder to hide bad design or poor cable management in such a case when you basically have a fish tank, popcorn machine, or whatever, how you call it. It's a lot of joke going around about this case, and all of them partially true because that's how it looks. But nevertheless, it's a challenging type of the case to make a nice build, but reward potentially can be absolutely awesome. That's the reason I get one, try to make a build for myself, and if it turns well, this will be my next machine that will replace my Sentinel build that I finished last year. So time to upgrade a little bit, especially now when I have such a nice motherboard from Gigabyte that I really like, and there's a lot of stuff that I actually going to use, so it will be really play well with this case, I think. I also tied from X99 platform. I use it for almost exclusively for last 4 years, I guess, in my 3 builds, and I don't think I ever reaped any benefit from it really. It's cool to have workstation type of platform, but I don't think it's really give me any massive advantage in my video editing or something like this. So I will go with just mainstream 1150X motherboard, and I think it will probably the same user experience, maybe even better for gaming, so we'll see. But back to the case. So, first thing when you get it, you will be amazed how freaking big the box is. And second, how heavy it is. The whole case weighs, or package, weighs 27 kilos, which is like almost 60 pounds. So the taking it out of the box will be quite a challenge. You literally have to put it upside down and shake a box out of it. And even after that, it's really hard to handle it, to lift it, because it's absolutely heavy. The biggest weight contributor to it also would be glass panels on 3 sides. I even was interested enough to weigh front panel, and it was 3 kilos. So if you remove front panel out, the case will be 3 kilos 6 pounds less. And the side panels, obviously the smaller, they will give you a little bit less of weight savings, but it's make your handling of the case a little bit easier, which is important, because I was genuinely concerned that when you put like water radiator, liquid, water blocks, which each probably like 1 kilo for GPU, for example, and all the fittings, 100 grams here, 50 grams there, but when you multiply it for entire build, you probably couldn't even move this case. So this could be legitimate concern. But my solution to that, if you decide to remove side panels, if you decide to remove glass panels out of the case, then you have opportunity to move the case a little bit with ease, because you're saving quite a lot of kilos with every single part removed from it. The glass itself, I never had a tempered glass yet, so I'm not an expert on this one, but it's pretty thick. So it's 5mm. I don't know is it standard or not, but you can see the thickness of the glass very high. It's a little bit of tinted type, which is nice. It also will give a nice looks of your internals, because it's the same as you have a filter on your monitor and monitor glows much nicer way, or like aquarium even. So that's a part they did absolutely right. I definitely would suggest to transport this case without it. Otherwise you probably need a couple bodies to lift it, or maybe a forklift. Now, without glass, with this protection film in it, so we can have a little bit better look how case is constructed, how it looks. Another reason why case is so heavy, I get so much used to case labs which is high grade thick aluminum, but still aluminum is so much lighter. The similar size of case lab case probably will be at least half, maybe even more. You still can shed even more weight to make it easier. It's, you know guys, you may be surprised by going on and on about the case, but literally you might have a trouble to moving it when you finish your build. So stripping out any extra weight might actually help you out to carry it around your house. Because for example, if I finish it here, I needed to bring it to my car, then I need to put my basement where actually my gaming computer is. And for one man it could be quite a challenge, and the stairs not that wide. Oh, I actually get distracted, but why I was talking about case lab cases, the main thing is that the case, this case is not made out of aluminum, it's made out of metal. And for that reason, it's weighed much more for the same size. So even if you like remove back panel, that's alone like 2 kilos right there. So 2 kilos less out of the case. One thing that I would like to mention, that it's very nice to see that everything comes, every single hole comes with a magnetic filter. So if you have a dusty house or just dusty environment, I usually don't have such a problem in my house because I have very sophisticated filtered system. So I don't accumulate almost any dust inside of my computers like for years. Like after a year of use, I barely have some dust inside, but it's not situation for everybody. And plus I don't live in a city. In a city usually I have a little bit more harsh environment. So dust filters obviously is a big benefit, because the panel is metal and filter is magnetic. Obviously you can remove it so easily and just wash it in your sink and put it back. So that part I really like. I never needed it, but now if it exists and it's easy to use, definitely something you want to use. So that's so far we took 4 panels out. Makes things a little bit, yeah, it's getting more manageable now. Another 2 panels, very easy to remove, and you can carry them separately, the side panels. And we have, the case has 2 buttons on the back. If you press one, you can remove the panel very easily. The same deal here, we have a massive filter across all holes, which is very nice. And now we see what's going on. In terms of your configuration, similar to P5, you don't have a lot of choice how you put things around. Although the case is totally different, the layout is different, and it's totally different animal. The only place where you put certain parts is where Thermaltake decide to design them. That obviously motherboard goes here, but in terms of your radiators, there are absolutely no provisioning to have radiators on the top of the case, on the bottom of the case. You have to put them either one side or second side. So here we have a almost quad. I'm pretty sure that 1, 2, 3, yeah, quad should fit. So we have a quad on one side, and we can put another quad on the other side if we remove those hot swappable cages for HDDs, which is most people don't use anymore. They provide you with a second bracket that you can put in place, and then you have 2 radiators. Or you just can have like inlet on one side and exhaust on the other side, or whatever direction you want. So that's pretty much it for the ways to put your radiators. There are no other places you can put them. It's not a big deal. I actually like the fact that your radiators goes pushing to the end of the case, because the fans goes to the back of the case as well, so it will be less noise. away from you, assuming that you're somewhat in that direction of your computer. And but in terms of size of radiators and how much cooling performance you get, this pretty taking care almost about any configuration. I think the need for multiple GPUs goes less and less because GPUs became so much expensive. So I always use dual GPU setup. I never bothered like 3 GPUs or even quad. I think it was like you just blow your cash, but you get absolutely zero advantage out of it. But dual GPUs was kind of justifiable. Now I even have the trouble to justify like 2 GPUs, to be honest with you. I think the 1 GPU give you hell of performance. You can almost play anything on like highest settings if you have a latest generation. So like why bother? So some of you might disagree, but that's how I feel recently about that stuff. But even if you have like 2 GPUs, 3 GPUs, and you overclock your system heavily and everything like this, so much radage that you can put in this case will address it all. You don't even need a fast fans to handle it. So the good part now here is that you can basically address any hardware configuration, and or you can create very silent computer. So you have like massive radiator surface with very barely moving air fans, and case will be almost silent because you just overpower all your cooling needs by massive radage that you can put potentially in this particular case. On the back, talking more about the back, most of the stuff, most of the wiring will be on the back, which is great. So if you're lazy and you don't want to deal a lot about dealing with the cable management, your power supply goes on the bottom, and all connections to your hard drive, to your fans and all the stuff, you can have like bird nest here, nobody will be even knowing because everything is covered. The only thing that you will have to deal with is going to only literally cable for power, now for CPU, one cable of 24 pin for your motherboard and for your GPU. So literally can be as little as 3 cables. The rest not really required. It's all hidden. So it's very easy to make nice looking cables, not obstructive. It's nice. One thing that you need to keep in mind, it's not obvious here, but how the motherboard is positioned in this case, that your I/O shield, your PCI brackets on the top. From traditional way, it's like turned 90 degrees. So it will look a little bit different. The idea is that if you have GPUs positioned vertically, you can see them on the side. So if you have a nice block, a nice GPU, so from this side you can see your cards very, very nice way. I don't even know why they provided so many grommets, to be honest with you, in the panel. Because, as I said, the number of cables going to the motherboard is really little. Now, you can see that we have a little bit of hardware here. So more cage for another 2 hard drive. There's a panel, 1 slot for 525 device where we can put fan control or whatever we want to. What's important, it's also have on the side it have some brackets for Thermaltake reservoir and pump combo. So if you want to mount there, all holes will align as long as you stay with Thermaltake. As long as you move to something else, I already tried, the holes wouldn't align. So like Beats Power or EK became a little bit problem. So if you want to use them instead, you might drill some holes to fit it. But that's besides the point. The point is that all these parts that you see on the bottom of the case for hard drive, for everything, if you want to, you can unscrew it and remove completely, which will make case even more lighter. And also, if you don't want all the stuff here around because you don't need it or it's obstructed, or you want to put something else instead, then it's very easy to remove. So the bottom line, so case is actually highly modular. It's maybe not that kind of modular as a case labs, but it allows to remove a lot of parts that you not need and free the space and make a case also lighter if it needed. So it's hard for me to remove it right here because I need a screwdriver. They actually, the amount of force they put on the screws, it's amazing. They definitely use some power tools or something which is not regulated properly, because every single screw I need to remove from this particular case, it's freaking impossible to do it with your hands. And I don't have very weak hands. I usually can unscrew anything, but in this particular case, it's impossible. So you need a screwdriver to remove it. But again, if you want to, you can do. Let's look what options available on this cluster of metal, so to speak. So 2 brackets on both sides for a reservoir and pump combo. That again will feed Thermaltake very easily. And you probably saw a lot of pictures recently. Then they have like 2 reservoirs coming on both sides, make it symmetrical, which makes sense. I actually probably will pursue the same type of configuration. I have a 2 reservoir on both sides. The only parts I don't like, they always make it very short, which is, I think, could look nicer if you try to make a bigger reservoir. For that reason, I will try to see if I can fit a bigger reservoir here, even more than 400 millimeter. So I try to cut like custom tube and make it all the way. So it will be, I think it looks a little bit better. So 2 reservoirs here. Middle section, I already mentioned that we have 2 spots for hard drives. Nothing else. Unfortunately, how it cut it, you either use those hard drives in those hot swappable cages or nothing else. What they could do if I would design it, I probably will allow another 2 525 devices. Doesn't matter what it is. It can be pump reservoir combo in a bay configuration, or it can be another controller that you just set and don't touch. Don't need to regulate all the time, but another 2 525 devices in that section would make sense, but that's it. You either use hard drives or don't use at all. And that's end of the story. Another little bracket on side allows you to put your standard 2.5-inch SSD. So right here. And I think that probably they have a second one on the other side. So you can have 2 or 1, whatever is better for you for cabling. So that's one, and the bottom I already mentioned that is 1 single 525 slot, which is Thermaltake usually recommend to put your fan controller if you need to. But as we looked on a recent motherboard crop, giving you so many headers that probably you can run most of your fans right off the motherboard and don't really need to standard fan controller any longer. On the side I already mentioned quickly, so we have a kind of modular design with these 2 brackets attached on one side completely, assuming that you have either fans or radiators, and other side you can have radiators only again or fans, and you have this cluster of hot swappable trays for your HDDs. The same story, unfortunately, there's no way to use it for 525 devices. So this is specifically designed for Thermaltake trays. So either use them or leave them. The only part flexibility they're giving you that each cluster consists of like two hard drives. So you can remove, let's say, like 2 of them or 4 of them, right? Not sure what's going on with radiator bracket in this case, because if you think logically, they're supposed to give you, instead of 1 piece here, they're supposed to give you like 2 pieces. So you can remove 1 hard drive, 2 hard drive section, and you put little piece. So you can put triple radiator, for example, if you want to be perfectionist. But it also can be easily addressed that realistically you don't need to mount radiator like on every single hole. So I can mount triple radiator just on some of the screws, and it will hold just fine. It's a big piece of metal. It's really impossible almost to bend it. So it's not a big deal, but just being picky, if you allow such type of flexibility, why don't make 2 pieces of bracket instead of 1? Other than that, on the back, nothing else except the bracket for your power supply, which goes here. You have also additional filter on the bottom for intake for PSU. The only other portion that's still removable, it's somewhat configurable, is this top panel. You need to use a little bit force to lift it up, and you can remove it. Not much stuff here, except you have more filters, but unlike everything else, because the top of the case is not metal, it's plastic, so it's not magnetic filters. They're all in brackets, and they're removable, but it's a little bit pain to put them in grooves, to be honest, so it's not as easy manageable as other ones that is magnetic. But if you want to, you can remove both and you can have your filters washed if needed. So what do we have here? Now we have access to all these PCI slots, and we have two exhaust fans. 140 millimeters, but as I see, there's a hole for 120. So if you don't want 140 provided with the case already, you can put your own choice. Can be LED fans or just more quiet fans, because that looks for me as a pretty standard, not very expensive fan, so to speak. So I'm not sure what the characteristics of those. Model TT 1425 that we get here. And we have all our cables from a front panel, pretty long ones, going on the top, and you route them to your motherboard. So you can see after we strip case quite a bit, even without removing the middle cluster, that thing now became more or less manageable. So that's something I can move, even including water cooling equipment that I'm going to put on it. So that's it. So you see, when it's stripped down, easy access to your motherboard from all sides. On the back, same thing. So it will be maybe not as easy work as P5 when they have absolutely no sides, but still access to most of the items very easy. I think it wouldn't be too hard to build in this particular case. One thing that it makes, it's not a concern, but it's kind of, we'll see how it will play around. But because of the motherboard goes on the top of the case, what this means? So it's all your cables for your monitor, your mouse, mice, and your keyboard. All cables go here, which means that you might have extremely long run to your desk. If case, let's say, standing on your table or next to your table, I think the cable runs will be, normally you have it like here, right? Now we have it like there. So another 2 feet, half a meter at least, that you need a longer cables. May create a problem, may not create a problem. Sometimes I found that some of the mice, they have a very short cable, so you kind of have a need extension, and then sometimes USB doesn't work very well when you have a cable too long, because you have a loss of power over the cable length. So that's maybe a problem, maybe not a problem, but we will see how it goes. And this will be only clear when you start building and when you put in a particular case, but something to keep in mind is the future generation. This will be my quick look and tour on Thermaltake Tower 9000 case, to give you some idea where parts goes, at least as a standard way. Of course, some people will come up with some creative solution, but I think that for the general idea, you have some understanding now what you're getting into if you decide to go for this case. Definitely will be interesting for me to work on it, especially while case is so new. I was playing with P5 kind of in the end of the trend, so it was so many cases out. Now we have just a few, so it will be interesting. You don't get influenced by other people, so you can think a little bit more creatively. I usually think better when I invent myself, other than I see something, I like it, and it just steers me toward trying to repeat that. About my build, I might not be able to start work on it immediately for the reasons of making custom reservoirs. As I already mentioned, I would like full-length reservoir, and it doesn't even exist, so it has to be a custom cut piece of acrylic, and it might take a little bit time to obtain it. Also, my vacation approaching, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll start planning collecting hardware meanwhile, but I can't promise you that next week I'll come up with some major progress. So keep that in mind if you follow my build and trying to give you some expectations anyways. So guys, thank you for watching. I hope you like this quick take. I am not as good in visuals as Hardware Canucks, which is absolutely most exclusive channel for making amazing case reviews, but I hope it gives you some help as well as my take on it. Thank you for watching and see you soon.